My family called my online business not a real job, while it paid for their real expenses. Get a real career, my mom nagged. I got a real perspective on who deserved my money, and it wasn't them. Hey Reddit, this has been eating at me for months, and I need to get it off my chest. Long story, but I promise it's worth it. I'm 29 male, and for the last 7 years I've been running what my family calls that internet thing or your little hobby. What they don't know, or didn't know until recently, is that internet thing was pulling in close to $500,000 annually. But we'll get to that. First, let me paint you a picture of my family. There's my mom, Carol, 58, my dad, Frank, 60, my older sister, Madison, 32, and my younger brother, Tyler, 25. Classic middle-class family from Ohio. Dad worked in insurance sales, mom was a part-time bookkeeper. Nothing fancy, but comfortable enough. Growing up, I was always the weird kid. While Madison was doing cheerleading and student council, and Tyler was playing football, I was in my room building computers and teaching myself code. Mom used to tell her friends I was going through a phase like learning programming languages at 13 was equivalent to dyeing your hair purple. Madison was the golden child. Straight A's, popular, dated the quarterback, got into a good college. Everything she did was celebrated like she'd cured cancer. I remember when she got accepted to Ohio State, my parents threw this massive party. Invited the whole neighborhood, had it catered, bought her a new laptop and a car. When I got accepted to the same school 2 years later with a partial scholarship, I got a card that said, "Congratulations," and a check for $200. No party, no car. Mom actually said, "Well, it's not like it's Harvard or anything." The difference in treatment was so obvious that even my friends noticed. My buddy Jake came over the day Madison got her car and asked why she was getting a brand new Honda while I was still riding my bike everywhere. I just shrugged it off. What was I supposed to say? That my parents had favorites and I wasn't one of them? College was where things got interesting for me. I started freelancing as a web developer to pay for expenses my scholarship didn't cover. My parents helped Madison with rent and spending money, but told me I needed to learn responsibility by covering my own costs. So I did. By sophomore year, I was making decent money building websites for small businesses. Nothing crazy, but enough that I wasn't eating ramen every night like my roommates. I tried telling my family about it once during Thanksgiving break. I made $3,000 last month doing web development, I said, actually proud of myself. Dad looked up from carving the turkey. That's nice, son. When are you going to apply for real internships? This is real, Dad. I'm running my own business. Madison laughed. Not even mean, just dismissive. Websites aren't a business. They're what businesses hire real companies to make. Mom patted my hand. Honey, it's great that you have a little side hustle, but you need to focus on getting a real job after graduation. Something stable. Tyler, who was still in high school and living at home rent-free, added his expert opinion. Yeah, man, you can't make a career out of being on the computer all day. This kid spent 6 hours daily playing Call of Duty. But sure, I was the one with the computer problem. I stopped talking about my work after that. What was the point? They'd already decided it wasn't real. The summer after junior year, I landed a contract building a full e-commerce platform for a local boutique owner. She paid me $8,000 for the project. I was ecstatic. That was more money than I'd ever seen at once. I worked nights and weekends for 3 months to deliver exactly what she wanted. When it launched, her sales tripled in the first month. She was so happy she referred me to 5 other business owners. That's when I realized I'd found something real. Not just freelance work, but an actual business opportunity. I tried explaining this to my family at Christmas dinner. Big mistake. So this lady paid you $8,000 to make her a website? Dad asked, skeptical. An entire e-commerce platform with custom features, inventory management, customer database? But couldn't she just use one of those template sites? Like Squarespace or whatever? Those don't have the customization she needed for her specific business model. Madison interrupted. Honestly, it sounds like she overpaid. My company's website probably cost way less than that, and it's super professional. Your company has an in-house dev team, and I'm just saying real businesses don't pay individual people that much for websites. You probably got lucky. That became the narrative. I'd gotten lucky. It wasn't skill or hard work or understanding what clients actually needed. Just dumb luck. After graduation, the expectations got louder. Madison got a job at a marketing firm in Columbus, and suddenly she was a professional with a real career. Never mind that she was making $45,000 and complained constantly about her boss. It was a real job with a real office. So that meant something. I moved back home temporarily while building my business. That's when I transitioned from freelance web development to full e-commerce solutions. I'd noticed a gap in the market for niche products, specifically custom solutions for small businesses that big companies ignored. Started with print-on-demand merchandise for local businesses, then expanded into custom software solutions, digital marketing packages, basically became a one-stop shop for small business owners who couldn't afford big agencies. The business took off faster than I expected. By year 2, I was clearing $150,000 annually. By year 3, $280,000. I hired contractors, automated processes, scaled up, all from my laptop in my childhood bedroom. But to my family, I was just playing on the computer. Mom would bring it up constantly. When are you going to get a real job? You can't live with us forever. I'm looking to move out soon, actually, I'd say. With what money? You need a real career first. The irony was that I had way more saved than anyone else in the family. I was paying for my own car, my own expenses, and secretly starting to cover some bills around the house that I noticed were piling up. See, Dad's insurance sales weren't going so well. The industry was changing, younger agents were undercutting his prices, and his client base was aging out. He'd lost a few big clients and was struggling to find new ones. Mom's bookkeeping was barely part-time at that point, maybe 10 hours a week. And they were helping Madison with her rent because Columbus is so expensive and she's getting her career established. I started noticing the little things. Past due notices on the counter. Mom clipping more coupons than usual. Dad getting stressed about the mortgage payment. They never asked me for help, probably because they assumed I was broke, so I just started handling things quietly. I borrowed Dad's truck and filled the tank, paid for groceries and claimed I owed them for something, accidentally paid the electric bill online using their account info by mistake, and refused to take the money back. Small stuff that they wouldn't question. The first time I accidentally paid a bill, Dad actually got annoyed. Son, you need to be more careful with your money. You can't afford to be paying our bills by accident. It's fine, Dad. I make enough. From your website thing, be realistic. I didn't argue. Just kept quietly helping whenever I noticed they were struggling. Then Madison lost her job. Some downsizing thing at her company. She moved back home at 28 with no savings despite working for 5 years. Mom and Dad were stressed, but tried to be supportive. They couldn't afford to support both of us, but Madison needed help getting back on her feet. I ended up paying for more household expenses without telling anyone. The mortgage was 3 months behind when I discovered the notices buried in a stack of mail. I found $4,500 in gift cards that I won from some online contest and insisted they use it for bills. They believed it because people who don't understand the internet will believe anything about the internet. That's amazing, honey, Mom said when I showed her the gift cards. What did you do to win? Just filled out some surveys and stuff. They do these random drawings. Well, spend it on something nice for yourself. Nah, you guys need it more. Please just use it for the mortgage. They reluctantly agreed, probably thinking I was being generous with my lucky winnings, when really I was just covering bills they couldn't afford because they were supporting Madison. Madison got a new job after 4 months, but at lower pay. She needed help with professional clothes, so I won another contest, this time a $500 shopping gift card. She took it without even thanking me, just complained that $500 wasn't enough for a whole wardrobe. I need at least 3 suits, plus shoes, plus accessories, she said, looking at the card like it was an insult. This barely covers one outfit. It's what I won, I said. Well, maybe you should try to win another one. Meanwhile, Tyler graduated college, also from Ohio State, also with parental support I never got, and moved back home too. 3 adult children at home. Dad's face was aging in real time from the stress. The family dinners got worse. Every Sunday, Mom would make a big meal, and we'd all sit around while I got interrogated about my job prospects. Any interviews this week? Dad would ask. I'm actually doing really well with my business. That's great, but have you thought about applying to real companies? I could ask around, maybe get your resume in somewhere. I don't need a resume. My business is... Honey, Mom would interrupt, we're just worried about you. Madison has her career established now. Tyler is looking at grad school options, and you're still doing your computer thing. My computer thing is, it's just not stable, sweetie. What happens when the internet fad dies down? You need something with a pension, health insurance, retirement plans. Tyler would nod along like he understood anything about careers. The kid had been out of college for 3 months and was exploring his options, which meant playing video games and occasionally sending out resumes to companies that would never hire him. My business pays better than most corporate jobs, I'd try to explain. That's what they all say, Dad would counter. Then the bubble bursts and you're left with nothing. Remember the dot-com crash? Your mother and I lived through that. These internet things don't last. Dad, that was 20 years ago. The internet isn't going anywhere. Just like everyone said about Blockbuster. And look what happened there. I'd given up trying to explain that Blockbuster failed because of the internet, not despite it. The breaking point started building around Christmas last year. Tyler announced he wanted to go to grad school for business administration. The same kid who'd barely scraped through undergrad with a 2.7 GPA somehow thought he was MBA material. That's wonderful, honey, Mom gushed. Where are you thinking of applying? University of Michigan, maybe, or Ohio State. Michigan's my first choice, though. That's a great school, Dad said, already looking stressed about tuition. Madison chimed in. You'll do great, Ty. Grad school is an investment in your future, rich coming from someone who couldn't afford her own rent. Then Mom turned to me. See? This is what I'm talking about. Tyler's investing in his education. Maybe you should think about grad school too. Get some real credentials. I have a successful business, Mom. I know, honey, but a master's degree would really help you stand out. Show employers you're serious. I don't need to show employers anything. I am the employer. Tyler snorted. Employing yourself doesn't count, bro. I have 6 contractors working for me right now, actually. Wait, really? Madison asked. You pay people? Yes. How do you think businesses work? But you're not a business. You're just freelancing. I bit my tongue. Again. Because what was the alternative? Tell them I made more in a month than Tyler would make in his first year out of grad school? That I'd been secretly funding their lifestyle while they looked down on me? But then Tyler got accepted to Michigan with 0 scholarship help. The tuition was $65,000 per year. Mom and Dad couldn't even afford the application fee without my gift card winnings, let alone 2 years of grad school. That's when the family meeting happened. We all sat in the living room on a gray Sunday afternoon in March. Mom was crying. Dad looked defeated. Madison was on her phone, barely paying attention. Tyler looked confused about why everyone was upset about his good news. We have a problem, Dad said. Tyler's been accepted to University of Michigan, which is wonderful news. But we can't afford to send him. How much do you need? Madison asked, not looking up from her phone. $65,000 per year, plus living expenses, which are probably another $20,000 annually. So we're looking at $170,000 total for 2 years. Madison's head snapped up. Per year? That's insane. It's an investment, Tyler insisted. The average Michigan MBA grad makes $140,000 their first year out. I'll make it all back. Maybe you could take out loans? I suggested. Mom looked horrified. We can't let him start his career in debt. That's not fair to him. Unlike starting your adult life on the streets or working your way through college, which was apparently fine for me, but I digressed. We're asking everyone to contribute, Dad said. Family helps family. We'll all pitch in what we can. Madison immediately started explaining why she couldn't help much. Rent in Columbus, student loans from undergrad, building her career, expensive city, cost of professional clothes, networking events, blah, blah, blah. She offered $2,000 total for both years. Basically nothing. Then they looked at me. What do you think you could contribute? Mom asked, her voice gentle like she was asking a child to share their Halloween candy. To Tyler's grad school? Yes, we know you're struggling with your internet job, but even a little bit would help. Every dollar counts. Struggling. They thought I was struggling. How much are you thinking? Dad cleared his throat. Well, we were hoping maybe $500 a month. We know that's a lot, but it would really help your brother achieve his dreams. Madison's contributing what she can, and we'll take out a home equity loan for the rest. $500 monthly for 2 years. That's $12,000? Plus, they were asking me specifically because Madison had already weaseled out of contributing anything meaningful. And they were planning to put their house at risk with a home equity loan. Let me think about it, I said. What's there to think about? Tyler asked, actually sounding offended. I'm your brother. This is what family does. Exactly, Madison added, finally engaged in the conversation. This is what family does. We help each other. Like how you guys helped with my college expenses? The room went quiet. You could hear the furnace kicking on in the basement. Mom's face got tight. That's different. You had scholarships. Partial scholarship. I worked 2 jobs to cover the rest, plus my living expenses, plus books and supplies. And that built character, Dad said, using the exact phrase I knew he would. Taught you responsibility. But Tyler shouldn't have to do that? Tyler's situation is different, Mom explained in that patient voice that made me want to scream. He's investing in a professional degree. You were just getting an undergraduate degree. From the same school Madison went to, where you paid her full rent and gave her $500 a month spending money. Madison needed support to focus on her studies. And I didn't? Dad raised his voice. This isn't about the past. This is about helping your brother now. Are you going to contribute or not? I stood up. Let me crunch some numbers. I'll let you know. Numbers? Tyler scoffed. You're making like $30,000 doing websites. Just say yes or no. I ignored him and went to my room, closed the door, sat at my desk and did something I'd been avoiding for years. I made a spreadsheet. Every expense I'd secretly covered for the family for the past 3 years. Mortgage payments, utility bills, groceries, Madison's contest money, Tyler's application fees, car repairs, medical copays, Christmas gifts they couldn't afford, Dad's new work laptop when his died, Mom's dental work, the new refrigerator when theirs broke. Total, $47,680. I'd paid nearly $48,000 of their expenses over 3 years, while they criticized my internet hobby and treated me like a charity case. I sat there staring at the number, almost $50,000, and they thought I couldn't afford $500 a month because they decided my business wasn't real. That night, I made a decision. I was done. The next morning at breakfast, I told them I'd thought about it, and I could contribute $1,000 monthly to Tyler's grad school. Mom literally cried with happiness. Oh, honey, thank you. That's so generous. More than we even asked for. That's amazing, bro, Tyler said, actually smiling at me for the first time in months. I really appreciate it. Madison looked surprised. Wow, didn't know you had that kind of money. But I have one condition, I added. Everyone looked wary. Conditions weren't part of the family script. I need to know exactly where all family money is going from now on. Complete financial transparency. If I'm contributing this much, I want to see that it's being spent responsibly. That's not really, Dad started. That's my condition. Take it or leave it. I want to see bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents, everything. If I'm putting in $24,000 over 2 years, I deserve to know it's actually going to Tyler's education and not being wasted. Mom looked uncomfortable. Honey, that seems a bit invasive. Those are my terms. They took it. Of course they did. Tyler's dreams were worth swallowing their pride. For the next 2 weeks, I documented everything. Their mortgage payment, their actual income, their debts, Madison's contribution, still just $2,000 total, my parents' retirement situation, non-existent, the real state of their finances, dismal. It was worse than I thought. They were in about $65,000 of debt outside the mortgage. Credit cards at 18 to 22% interest. Car loans on vehicles they couldn't afford. A personal loan from 2019 they'd used to pay for Madison's security deposit and first month's rent when she moved to Columbus. They'd been living beyond their means for years, propped up by my anonymous assistance and dumb luck. Dad's insurance income had dropped from $90,000 a year to barely $45,000. Mom was making maybe $12,000 from her part-time bookkeeping. Together, they were pulling in less than $60,000 while trying to maintain a lifestyle that required at least $85,000. Then I checked my own business finances. My e-commerce platform was doing $480,000 annually in revenue. After business expenses, contractor payments, software subscriptions, and taxes, I was netting around $310,000. I had $290,000 in savings and investments. At 29, I was set for life if I stayed smart with money, and they thought I was struggling. Time for phase 2. That Sunday at dinner, I brought my laptop, plugged it into their TV using the HDMI cable, opened my business dashboard for everyone to see. Numbers and graphs filled the screen. Before we talk about Tyler's grad school funding, I want to show you something. Mom looked nervous. Honey, we're about to eat. This will just take a minute. I pulled up my revenue charts for the last 3 years. Monthly income, annual totals, profit margins, growth trajectories. All the numbers they thought I was too embarrassed to share. The room went silent. Everyone was staring at the screen like it was showing alien hieroglyphics. Is that per year? Madison asked quietly. Yes. That's almost $500,000, Dad said, like he was trying to convince himself he was reading it wrong. $480,000 in revenue last year, $310,000 in profit after business expenses and taxes. Mom's face went pale. You make $300,000 a year? Give or take, depending on the quarter. From your internet thing? From my business, yeah? Tyler looked confused and maybe a little angry. But you live at home. in your childhood bedroom, with posters on the walls, because I was helping you guys with expenses while saving for a house, which I'm closing on next month, by the way. 4-bedroom, 3-bath in Upper Arlington, paid in cash. Madison's mouth was literally hanging open. You're buying a $400,000 house in cash? $385,000 actually. Got them down from their asking price. Why didn't you tell us? Mom asked, her voice breaking. I tried. Multiple times. You told me to get a real job. Every time I mentioned the business, you dismissed it. Remember last Thanksgiving when I said I was doing well and Dad said I needed to face reality? The silence was heavy. You could hear the refrigerator humming from the kitchen. Someone's phone buzzed. Nobody moved. Well, Dad finally said, his voice tight, this changes things. You can definitely afford to help Tyler more than $1,000 a month. Maybe cover his full tuition? And there it was. Not, we're sorry for dismissing you, or we're proud of you, or we were wrong about your business. Just immediately calculating what they could extract from me. Actually, I said, standing up and walking to the TV, it doesn't change anything. Because here's what else I want to show you. I pulled up my spreadsheet, the one showing every expense I'd covered secretly over the last 3 years. Each line item color-coded by category. Mortgage in red, utilities in blue, groceries in green. A graph showing the monthly totals. A pie chart breaking down the percentages. What is this? Mom asked. This is $47,680 that I've spent keeping you guys afloat while you criticized my career choices and told me to get a real job. I walked through every item slowly. Let them absorb each one. The mortgage payments I'd made when they were 3 months behind. The electric bills when they were about to get shut off. The groceries when I knew they were down to their last $100. The gift cards I'd won that weren't won at all. Just money from my business account transferred to prepaid cards. Madison's shopping money for professional clothes. Tyler's application fees for grad school. The car repairs for Dad's truck. The dental work for Mom. Everything. You paid our mortgage? Dad asked, his voice barely a whisper. 3 times. When you were 3 months behind and facing foreclosure. The electric bill? 6 times in 2 years. Mom was crying again, but different this time. Not manipulative tears or happy tears. Something else. Why didn't you tell us you were helping? Because you wouldn't have accepted help from someone without a real job. You would have refused it. Or worse, you would have taken it while still thinking I was wasting my life. This way, at least you got the help you needed. Madison found her voice, defensive as always. This is manipulative. Keeping track like that. Secretly helping and then throwing it in our faces. Is it? Or is asking someone who you think is struggling to contribute $12,000 to their brother's grad school manipulative? Is it manipulative to take someone's money while constantly telling them their career isn't real? That's different. How? Explain to me how it's different. She couldn't. None of them could. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm but firm. I'm moving out next month. I'm done contributing to family expenses. You guys need to figure out your finances without using me as a secret ATM machine. But Tyler's grad school, Mom started. Tyler's grad school is Tyler's problem. He's 25 years old. If he wants an MBA badly enough, he can take out loans like everyone else. Or he can work for a few years and save up. Or he can find a program he can actually afford. Ohio State offered him a partial scholarship. That seems like a good option. You'd really let your brother miss out on this opportunity? Dad demanded, anger replacing shock. The same way you let me work 2 jobs through college while Madison got full support? Yeah. Character building, remember? You said it yourself. Struggles teach responsibility. Tyler stood up, his face red. This is bullshit. You're just being petty because we didn't think your little website thing would work out. Now you're acting like you're better than us. It's not a website thing. It's a multi-million-dollar business. And you're right, I am being petty. But I earned that right by paying your application fees while you called me a loser. I never called you a loser. I pulled out my phone, opened my text messages. Here's from last Thanksgiving. At least some of us have real jobs, LOL. Here's from March. Mom's right, bro. You need to think about your future. Here's from 2 weeks ago. When are you going to grow up and get a real career? Tyler's face went redder. And Madison, I continued, pulling up more texts. Here's you from my birthday last year. Still playing computer games for a living? When are you going to grow up? Here's you from New Year's. Maybe this year you'll finally get a real job and move out. Want me to keep going? I was joking. Here's Mom from 2 months ago, I said, switching to her messages. I worry about your future every day. This internet phase can't last forever. You need something stable before it's too late. I was concerned. And Dad, here's you from last week. Son, I have some connections at Progressive Insurance. Maybe it's time to look into real employment opportunities. You're not getting any younger. I closed my phone and my laptop. You spent 7 years making me feel like a failure while I was more successful than all of you combined. You took my money, anonymously, sure, but you took it while telling me I needed to get my life together. So no, I'm not giving Tyler $12,000 for grad school. I'm not giving any of you anything anymore. I'm done being your safety net while you treat me like your disappointment. The silence that followed was different than before. This wasn't shocked silence. This was processing, calculating, realizing that their financial support system had just vanished into thin air. You're being incredibly selfish, Mom said finally, her voice cold. Good. I learned from the best. I unplugged my laptop from their TV and went to my room. Started packing immediately. I wasn't waiting until the house closed. I'd rent an Airbnb until then. I was done with all of it. Within an hour, the texts started flooding in. Madison, we need to talk about this. You're overreacting. You can't just abandon family because your feelings got hurt. Tyler, dude, seriously? Over some comments? We're family. You're really going to screw me over because of old texts? Mom, please don't make rash decisions. We can work this out as a family. We love you, and we're proud of you. We've always been proud. Dad, son, I think we all need to calm down and discuss this rationally. What you're doing is going to hurt everyone. I didn't respond to any of them, just kept packing. The next day, I hired movers, professional guys with a truck, took everything that was mine, and I do mean everything. Furniture I'd bought for my room that they probably thought was theirs. My TV, my desk, my dresser, my bookshelf, the mini fridge I'd bought, the air conditioner I'd installed in my window, all of it. Left my childhood bedroom completely empty, except for the bed frame that came with the house and the old posters I'd had since high school. Mom came home while the movers were loading the truck. She got out of her car, face red from crying. You're really doing this? Yep. Where are you going? Airbnb until my house closes in 3 weeks. This is ridiculous. You're throwing away your family over money? No, I'm setting boundaries with people who only valued me when they thought they could use me. And even then, they only took my money while telling me my career wasn't real. That's not fair. Mom, you literally told me 3 days ago that my business wasn't stable. You asked me to contribute thousands of dollars while thinking I was struggling. Would you have asked if you'd known the truth? She couldn't meet my eyes. We would have been happy for you. But would you have asked me for money? That's different. Answer the question, Mom. She looked away. I don't know. That's what I thought. I left, got in my car with the last box of my stuff and drove away. Didn't look back, didn't wave, just left. The Airbnb was nice, quiet, clean, no tension, no judgments. For the first time in years, I wasn't monitoring my family's finances or worried about their bills or feeling guilty about my success. I focused on my business, took some meetings I'd been postponing, started planning an expansion into new markets. The texts kept coming, though, every day, multiple times a day. Dad, we need to talk about Tyler's school. He's your brother. This affects his entire future. Madison, Mom's really upset. She's barely eating. Is this really worth destroying your family? Tyler, fine. Be a dick. See if I care. But when you need family someday, don't come crying to us. Mom, your father and I love you. We're sorry if we didn't show it the way you needed. Please, can we talk about this? After a week of silence from me, Mom called. I almost didn't answer. Almost sent it to voicemail like all the others. But something made me pick up. Hello? Your father's in the hospital. Her voice was shaking. My stomach dropped. Whatever our issues, he was still my dad. What happened? Heart attack, small one. He's stable, but... She trailed off crying. I'll be right there. I drove to the hospital, breaking about 6 traffic laws. Whatever our issues, whatever had happened, he was still my father. Some things are bigger than money and hurt feelings. He was in a room on the cardiac floor, hooked up to monitors that beeped steadily. Mom and Madison were there. Tyler was nowhere to be seen. Dad looked old. Really old. Not just older, but aged. Like the weight of everything had finally caught up to him and crushed him. The stress lines on his face were deeper. His skin was pale. Hey, Dad. Hey, son. His voice was weak, scratchy. Glad you came. We sat in silence for a bit. Madison scrolled on her phone, probably live tweeting the drama. Mom held Dad's hand, crying quietly. The doctor says I need to reduce stress, Dad said finally. Cut back on work. Maybe retire early. That's probably good advice. We can't afford that. There it was. The real reason Mom had called. Not just to tell me about the heart attack, but to use it as leverage, to make me feel guilty enough to open my wallet again. You need to take care of yourself, I said carefully. Hard to do that when I'm worried about losing the house, when I'm worried about your brother's future, when I'm worried about your mother and I ending up with nothing in retirement. I didn't take the bait, just sat there watching the monitors beep. Madison sighed loudly, dramatic as always. Are you really not going to help? Dad could have died. He's in the hospital because of stress, and you're just going to sit there and do nothing? Dad had a heart attack because he's been carrying stress about finances that he hid from everyone, including me. I offered to help years ago, indirectly, sure, but I helped. He chose to keep struggling rather than accept help from someone whose job he didn't respect. That's not, Mom started. It is, though. I was right there the whole time, making good money. You just assumed I couldn't help because you decided my business wasn't real. And every time I tried to tell you otherwise, you shut me down. Dad closed his eyes. Several seconds passed. Then he opened them and looked at me. You're right. Everyone looked at him. What? Mom asked. He's right. I did this to myself. We all did. He looked at me directly. I'm sorry. For not taking you seriously. For dismissing what you built. For assuming you were struggling when you were actually carrying us. You tried to tell me and I wouldn't listen. It was the first real apology I'd gotten from any of them. The first acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, I hadn't been the problem. I'm sorry too, I said, surprised by how much I meant it. For not just telling you the truth earlier. For hiding what I was doing. We wouldn't have believed you anyway, Dad said. That's the honest truth. We were too busy being right to see what was actually happening. Too convinced we knew better about your life than you did. Mom was crying harder now. Madison was still on her phone, but I could see her jaw clenched, her eyes wet. I want to help, I said, but things need to change. No more secrets. No more assumptions. If you need help, you ask directly. But you don't get to criticize my career while cashing my checks. You don't get to treat my business like it's not real while expecting me to fund your lives. Dad nodded slowly. That's fair. That's more than fair. And Tyler's grad school is off the table. He's an adult. He can figure out his own path. Agreed, Dad said. Mom looked like she wanted to argue, but stayed quiet. I'll pay off your immediate debts, I continued. The credit cards, the personal loans. Clean slate. But you need to budget properly going forward. Downsize if you need to. Sell the house if that makes sense. No more living beyond your means. No more pretending everything is fine while drowning in debt. Okay, Dad whispered. Madison finally looked up from her phone. What about me? What about you? Are you going to help me too? With my student loans? My rent? It's really hard in Columbus and… Madison, you're 32. You have a job. No, that's not fair. You're helping them. Because Dad had a heart attack and their retirement age with no savings. You're in your prime earning years. You have decades to build wealth. Figure it out. Her face went red. So that's it? You get to decide who deserves help and who doesn't? Yes, because it's my money that I earned from my fake internet job that you've been making fun of for 7 years. She stormed out, probably to call someone and complain about how unfair I was being. Mom looked torn between following her and staying with Dad. Let her go, Dad said. She needs to hear this. Needs to learn that the world doesn't owe her anything just because she shows up. Tyler finally showed up an hour later, saw me, and immediately got defensive. What are you doing here? Dad had a heart attack. I know. I meant, why did you bother coming? Thought you were done with family. Because he's my dad. Funny how you care now. I stood up, tired of his attitude. You know what, Tyler? You're 25 years old. You have a degree. You have no debt thanks to Mom and Dad's sacrifices. You have every advantage I never had. If you can't make something of yourself without grad school, that's on you. Not me. Not anyone else. Just you. You're an asshole. Maybe. But I'm an asshole who built a real business while you called me a loser and played video games. So maybe take some notes. He left too. Probably to find Madison so they could complain together about how mean I was. Dad and I talked for a while after that. Really talked. About expectations and disappointments. About the different ways we'd both screwed up. About what a real relationship might look like going forward. Mom listened, crying quietly, occasionally nodding. I'm proud of you, Dad said before I left that night. I should have said it years ago. What you built. That's impressive. That's real. I was wrong to dismiss it. Wrong to make you feel like it didn't matter. Thanks, Dad. And I'm sorry. For all of it. I know. That was 6 months ago. Dad recovered fully. He and Mom downsized to a smaller condo, sold the big house. I paid off their debts like I promised. All $65,000. They live within their means now. Dad's semi-retired, Picks up some freelance insurance consulting that's low stress. Mom's doing bookkeeping from home. They're making it work. Tyler ended up going to Ohio State for his MBA. They offered him a partial scholarship, and he's working part-time at a coffee shop to cover the rest. Says it's hard, but he's learning a lot. Character building, you know? We don't talk much, but he did text me once. Working sucks, but I get why you did it now. Madison's still in Columbus, still complaining about money on social media, still posting cryptic status updates about family betrayal and being abandoned. I don't engage. Some people never learn. Some people will always be victims of their own choices. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.